You ever wondered what kind of insane cars don't make it to America? While the U.S. gets its fair share of muscle, trucks, and tech-pack SUVs, there's a whole other world of performance, style, and innovation that never crosses the Atlantic. Some are too raw, others are too refined, and few are just too weird or wonderful for American roads. Today, we're going to talk about 10 of the coolest cars that were never sold in the U.S., so buckle up because you're about to meet the greatest rides we never got to drive. Number 10, Volkswagen Scirocco R. There's something uniquely frustrating about watching Europe get all the fun toys, and the Volkswagen Scirocco R was one of those cars that still stings. Based on the Golf platform but styled like a low-slung coupe, the Scirocco was everything American hatch fans wanted and never got. Under the hood sits a 2-liter turbocharged inline-4 producing 261 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque. Power went to the front wheels via either a 6-speed manual or VW's lightning-quick dual-clutch DSG gearbox. This allowed the car to sprint from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just over 5 seconds, all while offering enough practicality to daily drive without a second thought. Why didn't it come to the U.S.? Blame the bean counters. Volkswagen felt it would cannibalize Golf GTI sales and that importing it would be too costly to justify, so Americans were left with nothing but YouTube videos and car spotter reels. Number 9, Lotus Exige. The Lotus Exige was a car designed with one goal: total driver connection. Featherweight chassis that kept curb weight around 2,000 pounds, the Exige's performance defied its modest specs. Depending on the version, it came with a supercharged 1.8-liter Toyota-sourced engine producing 218 and 345 horsepower. 0 to 60 in the low 3-second range for the hardcore versions. Top speed, around 170 miles per hour. But honestly, this car wasn't about numbers. It was about feel. Hydraulic steering, manual gearbox, no traction control interference unless you're really messed up. The Exige felt like an extension of your nervous system. Unfortunately, after airbag regulations changed, Lotus couldn't justify the cost of upgrading for U.S. standards, and the Exige was pulled from the American market in the early 2010s. Number 8, Alfa Romeo TZ3 Stradale. Now this isn't just a cool car. The Alfa Romeo TZ3 Stradale is pure, unfiltered automotive art. Only 9 were ever made. 9. And every single one was hand-built by Zagato and draped in sleek carbon fiber bodywork that pays tribute to Alfa's racing heritage while hiding a very unexpected heart beneath. Underneath that Italian skin lies an American beast, an 8.4-liter V10 pumping out 600 horsepower and over 560 pound-feet of torque. Zagato took the Viper's chassis and mechanicals, then rebodied it with a jaw-dropping, long-nosed shooting brake silhouette that echoes Alfa's historic TZ racers of the 60s. The TZ3 Stradale was never offered for sale in the U.S., not officially anyway, and even if it were, you'd need deep pockets, electric connections, and likely a show and display exemption to ever drive it here. But for many, it's the perfect marriage: Italian soul, American thunder, and exclusivity so rare that even car show royalty turned their heads. Number 7, Lotus 340R. The Lotus 340R looks like something straight out of a futuristic motorsport movie, and somehow it's actually road legal. Well, not in the US, of course. Released in 2000 as a limited run special with just 340 units, hence the name, the 340R was Lotus at its most rebellious. It had no roof, no doors, and barely any body panels. What you did get was a purpose-built aluminum chassis with exposed wheels, a 1.8-liter Rover K-Series engine making 177 horsepower and a curb weight of just under 1,550 pounds. That power-to-weight ratio made it an absolute rocket on twisty roads or track days. 0 to 60 happened in just about 4.4 seconds. More importantly, it handled like a surgical scalpel. Lotus made sure each car was track ready right out of the box, and although it was legal in the UK and parts of Europe, the US never got a chance to see it on public roads. Number 6, Toyota Century. If you thought luxury meant leather seats and massaging functions, the Toyota Century will completely reset your expectations. This isn't just a luxury sedan. It's Japan's answer to the Rolls-Royce. Except unlike the Phantom, the Century isn't loud or flashy. It's dignified, discreet, and handcrafted to a level that most Western cars can never touch. Toyota's been making the Century since 1967, but the most jaw-dropping version is the latest generation, introduced in 2018. Instead of a V12 like the older model, this version uses a 5-liter V8 hybrid setup producing 425 horsepower, tuned not for speed but for utter silence and seamless power delivery. Toyota never offered the Century outside of Japan, and for good reason. It's a cultural product, tailored for a market that values understated excellence over brash luxury. Number 5, Citroën SM. The Citroën SM is one of those cars that feels like like it time traveled from a sci-fi novel straight into the 70s. It was French, it was weird, and it was beautiful, and it drove like nothing else on Earth. Launched in 1970, the SM was Citroën's attempt to create a grand tour that married luxury, speed, and innovation. They started by borrowing a 2.7-liter V6 from Maserati, tuned it to 170 horsepower, and paired it with a front-wheel drive layout. So, why didn't it survive in America? Regulations mostly. U.S. safety laws at the time banned glass headlight covers, making the car's signature aerodynamic front fascia illegal. Combine that with a lack of parts availability, complex maintenance, and limited dealer support, and it faded from the American market just a few years after launch. Number 4, Pagani Zonda. Some cars arrive, make a splash, and fade away. Pagani Zonda did the opposite, showed up in 1999 and never really left. For over 2 decades, Horacio Pagani's firstborn hypercar remained in production through countless special editions, each more exotic than the last. And yet, for all those years, it was never officially sold in the U.S. Why? Regulations. Between emissions, crash testing, and Pagani's tiny production capacity, bringing the Zonda stateside wasn't just feasible, especially when each car was tailor-made for its owner. Built around a carbon titanium monocoque, the Zonda was both featherlight and brutally fast. Early versions came with a 6-liter AMG V12, while later models pushed up to 7.3 liters and over 750 horsepower. 0 to 60, around 3 seconds flat. Top speed, over 220 miles per hour. It was Pagani's ultimate creation that never made it across the ocean. Number 3, Nissan Skyline GT-R R34. If there's one car that defined "you want what you can't have" for an entire generation, it's the Nissan Skyline GT-R R34. Thanks to the Fast and Furious movies, Gran Turismo, and YouTube drag races, the R34 became a legend in the U.S. even though it was never officially sold here. Launched in 1999, the R34 GT-R was the final evolution of the Skyline name before Nissan rebranded it as the GT-R we know today, and it was an absolute monster. Powered by the RB26 DETT, a 2.6-liter twin-turbo inline-6 capable of 276 horsepower on paper. The tuners knew that number was conservative, very conservative. The R34 wasn't just fast, it was intelligent, responsive, and perfectly balanced. But U.S. safety and emissions laws kept it out of reach until the 25-year rule kicked in. As of 2024, early R34s are finally legal for import, and prices have skyrocketed. Number 2, Honda E. The Honda E might be one of the most charming electric cars ever built, and Honda flat out refused to bring it to the U.S. Launched in Europe and Japan in 2020, the Honda E combines nostalgic retro styling with modern electric tech. It's compact, clean, and impossibly cool with round LED headlights, minimalist curves, and hidden door handles. Plus, it's packed with clever features, including a full-width digital dashboard with 5 screens, side view cameras instead of mirrors, rear-wheel drive, and near 50-50 weight distribution. With 152 horsepower and instant torque, it's agile, playful, and whisper quiet. Unfortunately, it never made it to the U.S. because of range. The Honda E only manages about 137 miles per charge, which is perfectly fine for urban Europe or Japan, but far below what U.S. buyers expect. Number 1, Lancia Delta Integrale. And number 1 is a car that didn't just make history, it rewrote the rules of rally. Originally launched in the 1980s as a humble hatchback, the Delta became a legend once Lancia transformed it for Group A rallying. Over a 6-year stretch, it racked up 6 consecutive World Rally Championship titles, obliterating everything in its path. The final Evoluzione versions were the most extreme. They featured a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine making over 210 horsepower, razor-sharp handling, and torque-splitting all-wheel drive that turned gravel into a playground. So, why didn't it come here? Blame Lancia's complete absence from the U.S. market, plus strict emissions and crash safety standards that would have required expensive redesigns, which wasn't worth it at the time. If you want to see more entertaining car videos like this, make sure you like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell.